Alright guys, what's up? Jay here. Quick video, 13 tips on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Some of them you'll know, some of them you won't. They will generally just help you become a better player. Let me know down in the comments if I've missed anything or if there's anything you would add. Let's get straight into tip number 1.
Alright guys, so tip number 1 is for every family member to be running tracker tagged. What this does is when you hit a victim, it highlights them for all family members. Level 1's duration's 2 seconds, level 2's duration's 3 seconds, and level 3's duration is 5 seconds. This perk is insanely helpful, especially when you get a hit on someone. That highlights them for everyone else. Everyone else knows it exactly at least where one person is. On top of that, if another family member is close by, they can then come and help you, which is obviously helpful, and you don't need to be able to speak to the other family members in order to give them this information. Also, at level 3 and 5 seconds worth of duration, if you hit someone and they get out of line of sight, you can still see the exact direction they've taken, which is so helpful, guys. So I'd recommend everybody runs this perk.
Alright guys, tip number 2. Every time you play as a family member, triple check that there is a perk in your grandpa ability slot. Obviously if your character's leveled up enough to get one, but make sure for some strange reason after choosing a perk it suddenly removes itself in between games. It's a bit intermittent, but just double check because you really do not want to go into a game without a perk being in this slot. Alright, let's move on to the next. Alright guys, so tip number 3. Make sure you do not heavily progress specific characters. When getting to a higher main level, as you can see, I'm level 16, you can go upwards of 20 games without leveling up, which means if you are forced to go a character you have at level 0, you are at a disadvantage. Every level you get 5 skill points, which means eventually it will take such a long time to only get your 5 skill points per level up. If you only play the family, this will affect you less than the victims as there's only 3 people choosing a character. You will go long periods of time without skill points to level everyone else up. Now, as victims, you have less than a 33% chance of getting the character that you want per game. That's a very low chance, so make sure that you spread out your skill points evenly.
Tip number 4, break out of basement instantly. If you didn't know this, simultaneously to what's going on just now, the family members are still going through the cutscene of Bubba chainsawing the 5th victim, which means they will not have time to see where you are, so go ahead and break yourself out straight away. Tip number 5, guys. If you know the maps and you're quite competent at this point, I would highly recommend that you actually get yourself 2 lockpicks at the start of the game. The reason being is it takes a minimum of 3 to escape via the front and rear exits, which are the easiest exits to escape at. So I would highly recommend that you pick up 2, and you will only need to get a 3rd one once you've actually reached one of the final exits. That's my recommendation. They are the most important tools in the game. Tip number 5, guys, remember to always use your ability. Even if it's not that powerful, the more you use your ability, the more powerful it becomes as you level it up. This mostly applies to Sunny and maybe Sissy, where their powers are not that great, but keep using them to level them up. Tip number 7, guys. Once you have run out of stamina, if you need to crouch to keep stealthy, just bear in mind you can actually crouch and run at the same time, which makes you run a little bit faster, but still being able to recover stamina. Tip number 8, guys. So, as a victim, do not give up. This game does not require teamwork to escape. It helps, but it's not always necessary. You are more than capable of escaping and doing everything yourself. It can be beneficial to work with another victim if, for instance, one of you brings 2 lockpicks and the other brings a lockpick and health. What that means is one of you can do 2 lockpicks, and then say you get chased, one of you loses a bit of health, whoever's got the health can heal the other person up if it's the other person that's been injured, and then you can use your final lockpick to open up the final exit gate. That brings us straight on to tip number 9. So, always focus on escaping through the front or rear exits unless you are the last person alive. The reason being is the front and rear exits are by far the easiest way to escape. The only problem with that is if you're last alive, the chances are the 3 family members, the killers, are going to be covering that area, or the rear and front exits. Now, if you're the last person alive, you can either try and escape through basement via the fuses or through the valve exit, which the chances are they will not be covering because it's very difficult to escape that way. Tip number 10. So, I would highly recommend that if you're playing as a family, if you're unsure of the whereabouts of a survivor or a victim but you know they're close by, please just hit the bushes, because the victims are very hard to see in the bushes. So do you know what, take a swing and you never know, you might get lucky.
There, it's all right, Grandpa.
Tip number 11. As playing the family, there's no reason for the supporting family members to come down to basement unless you absolutely know no one has escaped basement yet and you have completely locked down upstairs, or you know the last person is in basement. The 2 supports should always be patrolling upstairs just in case. Now, funnily enough, in the background footage I'm showing just now, it actually worked out and the killer did get a kill. However, that doesn't normally happen, so generally speaking, if you're the supporting family or the supporting killers, stay upstairs. There's no need for you to be in basement, at least in the early game. Tip number 12. So, as we discussed earlier, survivors do not require teamwork to escape. However, the killer heavily relies on teamwork, unfortunately. If you do not get all 4 kills, it is likely someone was not pulling their weight. I'm looking at you, supporting killers, for not feeding Grandpa. Seriously though, the supporting family members that are up top should really be focusing on locking the place down and feeding Grandpa. There's nothing worse than being Bubba and actually, you know, seeing like 2 people have escaped basement, looking at Grandpa's level and no one's fed him once. That is really infuriating. Tip number 13. As Bubba, your main focus is to destroy the barbed wire obstacles in basement. Then, if you actually see people, chase them and try and kill them. Once at least one survivor escapes basement, come up and then destroy everything you can while patrolling the front and rear first doors to actually get out into the front and rear exits. If they still say unlock, then they've not been picklocked yet, and you know the victims haven't actually gotten through that far yet. And all you need to do at that point is allow your support and family members to do the rest.